Hi, this is Russ Anderson. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at 3D planar tracking with multiple trackers in the same scene. And just to look ahead, the key issue is that they all have to have the same camera field of view. There can be only one camera field of view at any given instant. So let's start out. We're going to create a planar tracker on this bank of windows up here. So I'm just laying down some corner locations, and now I use the shift key to scale that up and scale it a little in both directions independently. So now we can just track that through the shot, and you'll notice that as part of it goes off the edge of the screen, that view is reflected in the checkerboard here in the mini tracker view. So there's our first track, and we have from this a field of view, this 36.970 degrees field of view. So that's what we're going to need to have for our other planar trackers, and we're going to create some more over here. To be able to do that, we're going to run a little script from our planar tracking script bar. I opened that up with the control key. Control click on that gear icon. So we're going to run this save field of view as known script, and it just copied that field of view up onto the main lens panel. So that's a central position. It's used in regular conventional 3D tracking as well. And from there it's available to all the other trackers as well that I'm about to create. So I'm going to go and tell it to use that known field of view for this next tracker. So again, I'm laying down some corners, and now as I'm putting the fourth corner, you'll see that the own field of view value is always still locked into that same value. And when you're operating in this known field of view mode, there are many fewer possible locations for that fourth corner. Now you can see I can get in reasonably well to where I want to be, but if my first three corners hadn't been really so great, I could get into a bind and not being able to get where I want to. So what you can do is hold down the Alt or the Command key, and now when I move my fourth point around, I'm giving permission to SynthEyes to move those other three corners as well. And you can see them shifting around a little bit. It keeps the total motion minimized, but it gives you a lot bigger latitude to place that fourth point, and it's made the corresponding adjustments to the other points so that you're still getting the field of view that you want. And having done that, now I can go and adjust things in the mini tracker view as well, depending on what the needs might be. But here, it looks like we're pretty good again. So let's just scale that up. And now we're ready to go on to our other one. So we're just going to repeat this process. I think we need to do that. Now, if you've been paying attention, you notice I didn't do, well, actually I did do, it worked out the right way. Let's go and switch it back. So if I create a tracker that doesn't have the right field of view setting here, I didn't tell it to use the right field of view, then I could have created a tracker with some alternate field of view value. So the thing I wanted to show is that now if I go and tell it, I need to use that known field of view value, you get a dialog that pops up that asks you whether you want to adjust it. And I click yes, and now it's adjusted the corners, to bring that value into where it needs to be. Now, depending on the situation, I might need to go and make a few more adjustments to do it. But, like most things in SynthEyes, there's an easy out if you have just made some minor procedural error like that. You need to get everything on the same track and same page. So now we've got our 2 additional trackers set up. Let's just scale this guy up for good measure again. Again, that's a shift drag and then letting shift go so I can adjust the 2 axes independently. Now we're ready to track. As it turns out, we've created them at the end of the shot, so let's go and change the direction. So we'll change each one to go in the other direction. Let's change our tracking direction here. So now we can just hit the button and it's tracked through the shot. We can lock that guy up and lock this other one up. If we scrub through that, you'll see that that tree is going by in the process, and because it's a relatively minor effect, it's not really affecting what we're doing too much. If that had been occupying a larger portion of the area of the planar tracker, that might have made a difference and warranted doing a little rotomask to let SynthEyes know not to use that portion of the image. One other thing here, if we scrub through this, you can see a little bit there's some 3D effects on this top, a little awning over the tracker. And again, that's a small unmodeled thing. You're expecting everything to be flat. If it's not exactly, these small perturbing effects tend not really to make too much difference. So now let's go over to the quad view and see what we have. So you can see our 3 planar trackers are all moving around. And it's a kind of a bit of a mishmash as far as doing something useful with it. It's not one of the more terribly useful configurations. So what we'll do is run this script called the export preparation script, and it operates using the selected trackers, and in this case it's this one selected tracker, and it's going to configure the scene to have the camera moving relative to this tracker. So I'm going to click that, and now you can see that the camera is moving relative to that tracker. And you'll see that there's a little shimmery motion to the other 2, and that's telling you that not everything lines up super exactly perfect. Probably the field of view value isn't all that exact because really it was determined just by where we placed the 4 corners of this one initial planar tracker on its first frame. So, if we want everything to be super exact and solid, we should be doing a conventional 3D solve. So this is more a quick and dirty sort of way to get things done. For a lot of purposes, this little motion here isn't going to make too much of a difference, because basically the fact that everything isn't modeled exactly is being accommodated by the fact that those other trackers are being continuously updated on a frame-by-frame basis also. So one of the things that you noticed that happened when we ran that script was that it created a mesh in the exact location of the planar tracker. And that's for the benefit of being able to export downstream animation packages just using our standard 3D exporters. So in fact, what we're going to do is run that export preparation script again. But actually what we're going to do is select the 2 others, and we're going to tell the script we want to do a moving object preparation for those 2. So now it's actually created SynthEyes moving objects for those 2. It's created the meshes. And now we have, ignoring basically the planar trackers, we have a scene that we can export using any of the conventional 3D exports from SynthEyes. So from this view, we can go over to the perspective view, and we have it locked up, and we scrub through it, And you can see that we've got both the 2D and 3D rectangles associated with each of the planar trackers are lining up, as well as the meshes themselves. So the reason everything lines up so nicely is that we have the same field of view for each of the planar trackers. So we can go directly from this point now to export to something like Cinema 4D, say. And now we can go over to Cinema 4D. And we'll just run the script that we just wrote out. And there we have those 3 planes, each set up within the Cinema 4D environment, so that we can apply effects to them, use them to parent additional objects to, etc. So hopefully this has given you an idea of what the workflow looks like when you have multiple trackers and you want to go all the way through to a 3D application using that export preparation script. Thanks.